So we do know that it will be Newcastle or Man City that they face in the final of the Carabao Cup. That's how things are looking so far in that tie. It's City with the 2-0 lead, and on Wednesday they will try to see it out. Now let's take a look at Manchester City's transfer window. They've been busy in January, namely Antoine Semenyo and Mark Guéhi coming in as arrivals, and Pep Guardiola was asked if he was happy with the January transfer window for his club, and he was a little bit jokey when he answered.
I'm a little bit sad and upset because in net spent the last 5 years, we are the 7 in the Premier League. So I want to be the first. I don't understand how the club don't spend more money. So I'm a little bit grumpy with them. But with that position like we won in the past, because we spend a lot, now 6 teams have to win the Premier League. And the Champions League is the FA Cup, because they spend more in the last 5 years. This is a fact, you know. It's not, I would say, an opinion, you know. You can say an opinion, for example, like you say, you play good or play bad against the Spurs. So we can be agree or disagree. And but that is facts. So good luck for the 6 teams who are in front of us that spent net in the last 5 years. Let's go. I'm waiting.
I mean, he's right, obviously. He had a little bit jokes.
I'll tell you what.
Here.
He's a great coach, right? But he's not a comedian.
No, he's not. But he does seem...
You were waiting for the punchline?
That was horrible.
He does seem, though, to be pushing back on the narrative that City buys their success, Stevie, saying, you know, these guys should be doing this if they've spent all this money, because that is what used to be said of them. Oh, well, with all the money they've spent.
It's kind of hard to see where he's coming from. You know, this time last year he was talking about he doesn't want any players. Now he's trying to be sarcastic, saying that, you know, they haven't actually spent that much money, so we're actually doing all right.
That joke did not hit with Stevie, did it?
No, I mean, where does he want us to go? What does he want us to think about where they stand? I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know what makes him happy.
Excuse the pun, because I really don't mean it here, but he does seem to have a little bit of a pep in his step right now. It feels as though he feels like the tide is turning for his team when it had been going against them. Yes or no? He feels a bit more punchy in these I
think he's more punchy because he knows that his team is no good.
He's deflecting.
Yes. Let's not talk about the details of why my team gave up a lead in the weekend. Let's not talk about the details of why my team has been underperforming. Let's not talk about the fact that my group that was supposedly had turned a corner had now gone back into the cul-de-sac and are not a team that you can trust to get results every weekend, which is what Manchester City had been in the past, previous to last season. That we always thought, you know what, they're going to go on this run in which it's 15 matches in which they win it all, and that's how they win the league because nobody else can keep up with them. Now that if you're Manchester City, you just want to win game this week, and we'll win another game next week, and that there is a winning streak. And hopefully we can keep that going.
You know, I think it was only a couple of weeks ago we did something. We were talking about him in a similar fashion because he was coming out with this sort of sarcastic nonsense again. And it is pretty clear. He's more than happy to talk about this nonsense than he is about his team. Because his team isn't great right now. And his team might be sitting second. And they might be apparently the biggest challenge to Arsenal.
Kind of.
But they're not. They're really not. They're not in a good place. And nobody's scared of them anymore. That's what he's doing.
Even with these new players coming in.
Nobody's scared of playing against Man City.
You know who he sounds like? And he would love to hear this. He sounds like Mourinho. He is deflecting like Mourinho. The manager with whom he had so many run-ins, while one was at Barcelona and the other one was at Real Madrid, he sounds exactly like Jose Mourinho when his teams were not performing at a high level, and then you get a little punchy, as you just said, with the media. You get a little sarcastic, and you don't actually answer the question.
What do you think, Robbo? Is he deflecting?
Absolutely. Managers never start being sarcastic and never going at the press and saying stupid things when their team's doing well. They don't need to. The team's showing exactly how good he is when they're on the pitch and they're winning games and playing really well. But he's lost that little bit with his team. He knows they haven't got the authority. That's the word I would use. They haven't got that authority on the pitch anymore. They should have absolutely murdered Spurs at the weekend, gone 2-0 up, and then they couldn't keep that discipline. They couldn't keep the control. They couldn't keep their authority in the second half. And that's what he can't seem to change. And that's why he's getting stroppy. That's why he's deflecting to other things. Because at the moment, as the guys have said, Manchester City, you're not quite sure what sort of performance you're going to get from them at the moment, whether it be in the Champions League or the Premier League.
I tell you who'd love definitely one of those players that Pep's just got his hand on is Liverpool. We know the defensive crisis they're having right now with the injuries. Just a reminder of that, including those at the back. Frimpong, Bradley, Gomez and of course Leone, but they have been active in the window. It's just that the player that they're bringing in is coming in. In the summer it's Jeremy Jacquet, the 20-year-old, a French under-21 international. He's going to remain at his club in France for the rest of the season. So the idea is there, but the timing would have been a bit better now, wouldn't it, Stevie?
Yes, unfortunately it's not an ideal world, and this time of the year it's really tough to get proper players because, you know, for a player to go and play for a Liverpool or a City or a Real Madrid, they have to be of a certain level. And in the middle of a season, regardless of what country you're in, teams don't want to let the players go at this time because they know they can't get a replacement. And so the best thing for Liverpool right now is to make sure that they get this guy for real and for good at the end of the season. Yeah, I mean, I don't know a huge amount about him. I looked at some highlights, but obviously you can't find highlights of players like him doing things wrong. Every highlight is spectacular and last-ditch challenges and
maybe that's all he's done.
Well, let's hope that is true. But I'm a little surprised, but I understand it. As I said, if you're going to bring somebody in this time of the year, it has to be somebody who can actually play at that level. And that's not easy to do. So the second best is you get him for the end of the season, and you're lucky that you've got somebody like Gravenberg who could do a job if Kanate or Van Dijk get injured. But it's not a great place to be. But it's a tough window to get proper players in.
How worried should Liverpool be for what remains of this season, Robbo?
How worried should they be? I mean, they're getting a bit more out of Florian Wirtz. He's now starting to show what he can do. He was man of the match at the weekend. Mo Salah hopefully comes back and shows that he's got that little bit of pace again. There was one run he made in the game at the weekend when he got away from his marker and then hit a bad shot with his right foot. But maybe he's going to find his form again. The midfield, I mean, Szoboszlai has to play at right back, which I don't think is ideal. Yeah, they've got one or two problems at centre back. If they all get together and if they can play at their very best, they're still a good team, a very good team. But they're inconsistent, just like we were talking about Man City. You don't know whether Liverpool are going to be at their best week in, week out, and there's still some games that you fancy them to lose. So they are where they are at the moment. I think that's probably where they'll finish. What's
the best you can hope for what remains in the season?
Just get into Champions League. Get in the Champions League. If you can't win the title, then you have to be in the Champions League. And they're capable of it, but as Robbo said, sometimes you watch them and you're not quite sure what you're going to get.